Alright, this will be the People News. Okay, it's going to be a little bit different as some of the other videos, and same as some of the other videos. It's going to be a three-part video, just to put puzzles together, y'all. Okay, I'm not an attorney, not giving legal advice. Anything I say or do is not legal advice. It's my opinion. Alright, sometimes I act like I give you legal advice, but just take it with a grain of salt, okay? I'm uneducated. I'm not the brightest tree on the block, all right? Do your own research. Don't bank on me. Don't bank on them. They're hearsay, okay? Your attorney's hearsay. The judge's hearsay. Do your own research, okay? I don't even want to get in contact with the judges nowadays or magistrates. All right, we're going to go back into a little bit more clarity on property tax. Now, as you guys can maybe see with my piece of crap phone, this is all Alfonso I can't pronounce his name, y'all. All right, and then a little bit ago, I did a video a little bit over here, okay? East Texas, Pennsylvania, Texas, okay? And this is all property tax. And it's the fraud that we walk into. Again, regular property tax, commercial, but there's still judges out there that's not upholding the law. Or they even their code, statutes, rules, and regulations, or operating in their civil rules of procedure or their criminal rules of procedures. They're acting in bad faith, and they got unclean hands. And I think it's about time for mama to spank them on the butt and tell them to go wash their hands. Because it's ridiculous, y'all. All right, let's start with this.
And they immediately came back and said, don't worry, we'll take it off.
So, if you check out a couple of my other videos, I showed you this, right? Kind of went through that a little bit. So, this is Texas, of course. Every state has something similar, but this is the Texas one, okay? And it talks about the establishment of the Constitution here in the state. We also talked about the word in this state is federal land. All right. So we talked about that, and we didn't make it up. Texas did. Okay. So complain to Texas about it. All right. Now we'll go back over here, and this is kind of diagram. And he's conducting business in Dallas, right? Now he's got to file a return with these people here because they want to know how much he's making, all right? And then they're going to charge him X amount of taxes of what he conducted business in, okay? So, since he's conducting business, now everything is assessed in there. What is his property worth? That's everything. Their storage buildings, which is what they do to our private property, right? And his furniture, okay, for everybody, customers to sit in, because that upvalues the property if these people want to confiscate their property. It upvalues it to make it more taxable. All right. Got off track a little bit because I had a ding ding on my phone. Now, this still all applies within the statute to these persons, okay? Business entity, okay? That's all really it applies to is this plumber. He's a creature of state. He's a person, and he's a non-resident and a resident. Just depends where he conducts business. Now, his property is he's got to file a return. Now, people, on your private property, have they ever asked you had to file a return? Well, no. I've owned property peer out to between my houses. Okay, never had anybody tell me to file a return. Why? Because I'm not a creature of the state. I'm not a person. I'm not in business. However, my private property is still in here. So since I'm in silence and acquiescence, I agreed I'm a taxpayer. So they made me, they presumed I am a creature of the state, a person, and a plumber. So therefore, they making a claim that they basically are filing a return on my behalf behind closed doors. Okay? Without that return, you cannot be a taxpayer. Now, again, we're going to go back into taxpayer. Income. Income is profit. Okay? Now, when you create income, are you creating it because you're owning a business on your private property that you live over here? Well, no. Your private property is not bringing in income. So, it cannot be taxed. Right? Back in you. All right. So, we got the basics there. Now, let's go to old Fonz and listen to his court explaining to the judge that he's still fighting in court because the judge has unclean hands. Matter of fact, they're so disgusting that he hasn't washed his hands on 50, 60 years. Guess it's commercial time.
It's well-established in case law. Have you consulted with a lawyer about that point? Sir, I don't need to consult with a lawyer at that point. It's well-established in case law. Registration is not ownership. It's notice of ownership. There's no document. If I don't file or change the county's documents, they don't get to take the property, and it doesn't become the state's property. It's my property by way of law. It's an operation of law. There's nothing to research. He argues about 8811. 8811 is nothing more than an enumeration of taxable subjects. And he fails to look at Section A of 8811. It says, this is property that was made taxable by the laws of the Commonwealth. He can't explain what laws of the Commonwealth are making that property in that enumerated list taxable. Total 53, Pennsylvania Code, Section 8811. Yeah, Section A.
Now, all these codes right here is going to have a little bit of different number and maybe a little bit of different wording, but every single one of you guys, the codes are within the realm of the same. And everything is consistent with business. Filing a return, a CITIS, all that. And it's ridiculous how these judges wants to steal your property, steal your money.
That basically says that this is an enumeration of property made taxable by the laws of the Commonwealth. He can't explain how the property is being made taxable because what they're using is an ad valorem tax. An ad valorem tax is a commercial tax roll. They're taking non-commercial property and they're placing it on a commercial tax roll without any tax returns and no assessments. He's got no returns for my property. He's got no assessments on my property. The county does not have an assessment of my property pursuant to the law. So that there is no remedy as far as he's talking about. There's remedies within the state. If you actually put a link to the Board of Assessment, if you want to challenge the assessment, but you can't challenge the assessment. All you can challenge is the value of the assessment. And you would have two options if you were to move under the link that Mr. Schley provided. You would have to get your own assessment and bring it in, or you'd have to have a comp sale of the property and bring it in, and then the board would determine a value. Nowhere in there is a remedy to remove the property from the tax roll because there is no process to put a non-commercial property on a commercial ad valorem tax roll, which is what the county's doing here. you're being ripped off. If you own a property and you're paying a property tax and there's no taxable business privileges occurring at that property, you're being ripped off by your county.
Did you get assessments from the county?
They're not assessments.
Whatever that you get a piece of paper.
Well, they're mailing fictitious, fraudulent bills. They're not assessments. It's not an assessment. An assessment in Pennsylvania requires three things. It's the market value of the property, it's depreciation and replacement costs, and it's the income approach of the property. They have no market value of the property. They're looking at like a Zillow or a Trulia printout and guessing what the property costs. They have no depreciation replacement costs. They have no income approach because there's no income on the property. They don't have a signed assessment. They use what they call property tax, property record cards, made from the CAMA system. That's their computer system. It looks like something you would see on Zillow online. Nobody signed it. It meets no statute. It does not meet the statutory requirement of what an assessment is. They don't have an assessment, and they don't have any returns. And it's well.
Okay. And on top of that, y'all, on your private property, to get a true assessment, they have to come into your house. Okay. Well, is government people allowed to come in your house without your consent? You know, if that was the case, to be taxed, now can they go into your business and assess taxes on it? Yes, they have to get a correct assessment on the business. But since they can't do a correct assessment in your house because they need a warrant, and all we had to do is say no, then without that right there, you cannot be taxed because it'd be misleading taxation.
Established law in Pennsylvania Title 53 that a taxpayer is required to file a return. It's not an option. He's required to file a return. They have no returns filed by me. They have no evidence that I'm required to file a return. They don't have an assessment of the property. So what they're doing is they're falsifying their tax roll by taking non-commercial property and putting it on a commercial ad valorem tax roll. And it has to be commercial tax roll because otherwise you'd be taxing the value of the right to own the property. You can't tax the value of a right. It's like taking free speech and saying, I'm going to put a value on your free speech, Judge, and I'm going to tax it. Can't do that. It's very clear what a taxpayer is in Pennsylvania Code. Title 61 of the Revenue Code, Section 153.1a and 155.1a, strictly define a taxpayer as an entity organized and incorporated under the statutes of the Commonwealth, doing business in the Commonwealth, and owning property in the Commonwealth. That is exactly what a taxpayer is, and that's what a property tax is. If I were running a business from my property, sir, say I was running a car detailing business from my property using my garage, well, then the state could charge me an excise tax for the privilege of doing the business, and since I'm using the property to conduct that privilege, then they can charge me a property tax. That's exactly what a property tax is. You can't charge a property tax.
But I'll go furthermore. The tax, the property tax that they could charge you for is only the garage, not the whole house. Okay, that's the reason why the tax exemption originally started, is to separate your house from your farmland, your house from your business maybe up the road, or your house of your trucking company in the yard. This is not complicated.
Or a home where the only thing going on there is eating, sleeping, and drinking. There's no taxable activities going on with the property. There is no process to put a non-commercial property on an ad valorem tax roll. This is why he's in default and why he has not answered this complaint, because he can't answer it. Then he talks about the 11th Amendment. The 11th Amendment's for states. They're a political subdivision of the state. I don't know where he got 11th Amendment. And here, I'll save you research time. You don't need to research it, because in the complaint are allegations of federal crime.
Now, also, and he may not know this, but according to the Founding Fathers' original intent, their definition, the state is the people. So, if the state can't be sued, or the state can be sued, we, the people, have a right because we are the state and we can make a claim with the 11th Amendment as well. And the government must ask us for permission to sue us. It's what they said we had to do from them, right? We got to ask permission from them to sue them.
And state crimes, and there's no, when there are federal crimes and state crimes lodged in the complaint, the 11th Amendment goes away. There is no immunity for committing crimes against somebody, and there's provable crimes in that complaint. The Rule 8, that's probably one of the most abused rules I've ever seen. It does not say you only can make short statements. It says you must at a minimum make a short statement so that the other party knows the basis of your complaint and knows that basically what you're going to be probing in discovery, what you're going to be asking. That's what Rule 8's for. It doesn't say you can only make short statements. It says that you must make at least a short statement and explain the complaint. Yeah, I think that addresses everything he's got there.
There we go. All right. This is We the People News. Do your own research, okay? The criminality that they are doing and our misunderstanding of these words they are using against us. And then we jump in there like little sheep and we go ahead and just volunteer into the wolf's den for their breakfast in the morning. This is We the People News. Bye, y'all.